Hi, it's Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. And of course, 2022, the MAAP community is roaring ahead. We are going to have such wonderful programs. I'm going to try to fit in programs with colleagues of mine that can give even more information than I do. I'm going to answer more of your questions. I'm going to do a few more vignettes on short ones on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube so that everyone can really find out about this community, become a part of this community, and answer those questions that you have about how to make a plan for your pet, navigate the journey your pet takes when you can't care about it. Positive pet care is what we're all about. So without further ado, I am so grateful to be back here in 2022. 2021 was an interesting year. I'm still not in my house in North Carolina, but I've sort of resigned myself to the fact that that is going to happen for my birthday. And I will just tell you, I'm a spring baby. So I still have to get through the winter. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. I want to let all of you know that I likely will not miss a day, but I might. I'm having a Lego changed in my body. My knee is coming out and a new Lego is going in on January 28th. So if you'll all tuck me in your prayers, I'll be thrilled. I know it will be a little, I know Sally has done the Lego transfer already, and I believe she has shared with me that it's the first 2 weeks that are the hardest. So I am looking forward to that. Junie is looking forward to that. You know, this is the MAAP plan, right? It's not about dying. It's about making a plan for your pet in case you can't care for him or her. So Junie and I walk. We're pikers next to Sally, who keeps telling me she's walking about 15,000 steps a day. We're only walking about 7,000 or 8,000 steps a day. But when I have my surgery, I know I'm not going to be. So what do? How do you take care of your pet who's used to you walking him? Well, I've been blessed with friends who are going to care for him the first several days after. He's going to go with me into Raleigh. He's going to stay with my friend Kathy McNamee. And then he is going to go for a refresher course at Janie Bristow, where he earned his Master Hunter this year. So I think that he will likely not miss me one iota, not one, because he will be doing what he loves to do. He will be pointing birds, they'll be shooting birds, he'll be retrieving birds, and he will be thrilled. And I apologize if anyone gets offended by that. However, the birds are used as food, and this is what these dogs were bred to do. So he actually is doing function. Form and function is what we always breed into our purebred dogs. So without further ado, I'm going to check in with everybody. I'm going to start with you, Sally. How's everything up in the Northeast?
Well, in the Northeast, it's great. It's icy. We're walking less. Our friends in Colorado who have dogs and cats, all the dogs and cats made it out. And unfortunately, all the horses did not make it out. But our friends have gone from temporary living into the Ramada Inn, which is their permanent housing for the time being. They said they had less than 20 minutes to get everything ready to go. And fortunately, the people and the dogs and cats could be all wrangled together in 20 minutes. But they left the horses in the field and they lost all their horses. So real tragedy. But
Junie, you're very sad.
The dogs made it.
Yeah, the dog made it, and Junie is going, that's not nice. That is the hardest thing about owning horses is if something comes up in the matter of minutes, how do you help the horses escape? And they did what was right. However, what I've heard, and I do a lot of research on this, is that they have to be left out of their contained field. And maybe they were, and the field just burned to the ground and everything was gone. However, if they're able to get out of the fenced in area, which some of them can, then they're able to run past the fire. But the odd thing about horses is sometimes they run back into their stalls when there's a fire. So it really is something you have to plan for, and you have to make sure you have the necessary things in place. Uh, I think that fire was pretty sudden, right, Sally? There was no way they were warned about it.
No, there was no warning at all. They think it was, well, they're not sure. They think it was, well, they all of a sudden, it was the way the winds came down over the Rocky Mountains into the valleys and the deserts. And all of a sudden the winds were 110 miles per hour. And somehow at first they thought it was a power line. Now they're not sure, but at 110 miles per hour, any little fire kept jumping and jumping and jumping. And it did take out 2 entire neighborhoods.
Yep.
And so
and I'm sure there was there a loss of human life as well, or just?
They don't think so. They think possibly 2 people that are unaccounted for, but they think it's a miracle that there were.
That is a miracle if there was a 20-minute lag time and everybody got out, because I know I read in the newspaper that one woman was very upset because she got her dogs out, but her cats hid and she couldn't find them. And so they had to give up the search. And so she lost her cats. So fire is a really scary thing. You know, we were trying to put Jane in her carrier, not her favorite place during the holidays. And I said to Drew, you really need to make her more willing to go into. I mean, there's a lot of the reason why breeders teach their dogs to go into crates, because when I say crate up, everybody in my house runs into a crate. And that's really a blessing if you have to gather them quickly. They don't run and hide, which is always, you know, when you have 20 minutes to escape, running and hiding doesn't help you. So Kieran, what's been up for you? How is your new year?
Oh, New Year's good. New Year's good. So I went off and did a bit of hiking, which was quite nice. So it's, I think we only did about 20 kilometers and nice 25 centigrade. I'm not sure what that is in real temperature, but it was quite warm, but not.
Yeah,
not
that's
excessive.
about 65, 70 degrees, I think, in New York.
Yeah, that's in the low 70s.
Yeah, the low 70s, yeah. So we've had that here in North Carolina, just so you know. We had Christmas was in the 70s. I know, Sally, you don't want to hear that. Neither does Susan.
I don't want to hear that.
We had Christmas in the low 70s. I was walking around in a t-shirt and shorts. It was not, and I was not in Florida, so it was really bad. So you were having a good hike then?
It was good, and then I had a couple of friends I hadn't seen in 2 years were over for Christmas, and the strange thing is I have another friend coming on Monday for 3 weeks, and then I have another 2 friends coming 2 weeks after that.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
No, just what I was going to say. There's a sort of an odd thing here, which is I hardly saw any of them when we were in lockdown in Ireland, and now that I'm over here, I'm seeing more of them than ever before.
Yeah, well, I'd like to go to Tenerife too. How are they handling the return to Ireland? Because I don't know if Tenerife is as strict, but I think Ireland and England have been really strict with COVID. And
that's taken a very strange twist now, which is the Omicron is so widespread that the Irish government have announced that they're not going to keep up the checks and the tracing anymore for anybody who comes in. That they've sort of thrown in the towel to say they've lost the fight, and
yeah,
that's how it is at the moment. So,
and they hope people get vaccinated, and they hope people wear masks and take precautions. But other than that, you're on your own.
There's certain precautions, but the general consensus is that the battle has long been lost, and the virus is so widespread that there isn't really a point in chasing it anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's, now do we know, there still are crazy regulations that the cafes and the pubs are closed at 8 o'clock, and that's it. So
wow, they close them at 8 o'clock, but they have them open. What is so that there's less congregating or after work?
Maybe it's just a case that the the hangover from alcohol is probably less feared than a hangover from removing regulations or something like
Yeah,
that.
that might be true. That might be true.
So that's the way it's set up at the moment.
And any news on Leo? Any new news in the new year?
There's a lot of things, Debbie. Yes, there's a lot of things happening, and they're all moving in the right direction. But I don't want to say anything until it's actually
Perfect.
signed, sealed, and delivered. But it still is gaining momentum. So the funny thing is, I was asked to do a podcast on a show in Australia. So we have to try and work out the time.
Yeah, good
So-
luck with that time. I've done that. That's a good thing. You can either get up at midnight or you can get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Because, I have a brother in New Zealand. It sort of works at 9 or 10 for one of us. So
Yeah.
But
Good. Good.
when-
Well, you'll
when-
have
when
to
you
get on
get-
the Why Do Pets Matter podcast once you have everything that you can talk about. But I think I might have you on twice, once to just explain Leo and then to go forward with what it is where it's being spread out and how it's being used so effectively for the education of responsible pet owners.
Yeah.
I love it.
definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll set a date, probably in early February, maybe late January and then early February, so we get them out. It's interesting because today I was thinking about you when I was walking, because there are so many people who want to put so many more regulations on dogs and spaying them and altering them, and there's a lot of things on the internet. And for me, I sit there and I go, there have been so many studies that show that spaying and altering dogs at a young age has health consequences down the line, and we sort of are I akin it to prohibition. So if you want all the dogs to be spayed and altered, people are going to get dogs somewhere, and then you'll have less control, and then all of a sudden you're going to run out of dogs. I know where I got it. So it was the new book I read and everyone should get a copy or look at it online. It's called Pet Nation by Mark Cushing. I'm talking to Mark Cushing tomorrow. I'm hoping to have him as a guest on Why Do Pets Matter. He's an animal policy expert, and he wrote a book regarding where pets are now. And he has you would love this, Kieran. He has a great statement which says the dogs went from the backyard into the house and now have come out of the house and gone with the families to wherever they go. So they're out the front door living in the world in a way that they never were in the 50s or 60s. And he has a great deal of ideas on what people need to understand about dogs and cats, that there are not so many dogs as are required. So there are 8 million dogs, say, and they need about 2 million every year to replace the ones that pass away. And we're not creating that many dogs. So that's why a lot of dogs are coming in from overseas here to the United States, probably to England as well, because we're not breeding enough. And the homeless dogs and the shelter dogs, if we were able to teach people through books like When Your Child Asks for a Pet, Let One-Eyed Leo Lead the Conversation. Books like that teach responsible ownership. And, spaying and altering everything is one way to cut down the dogs in shelters. But I think, my own personal opinion, educating pet owners is the better way to have people do what they should do as responsible pet owners. Whether or not the dog is spayed or altered, it's something that you just have to pay attention to. And, whoops litters happen all the time, but then you have to take responsibility for them and not just dump them off. So I've gotten on my soapbox. I'm getting off my soapbox. And Susan, how is Maggie?
She's as barky as ever. I haven't started her on the medication yet, and I feel kind of bad about that. Kathy did send me a couple of things to read up on, and I don't know what it is, just kind of inertia, but it's just really a leap for me to do that. But I need to figure out how to teach her the go crate command. She's
Food.
very smart. She's incredibly
Food.
smart. And I know she can learn a lot. And maybe that's part of the problem too. She's not getting the stimulation she needs.
Well, they're almost always smarter than we are. I will just raise my hand and say that my dogs are usually much smarter than I am, and can figure things out to do that I don't want them to do much quicker. But with the crates, we usually start them, and your breeder probably started her in a crate, so she knows what a crate is.
Oh, yeah.
And for now, you feed her in the crate. You give her all her treats in her crate. You throw her toy that she loves in the crate. And then she'll go in the crate. And if she doesn't go in the crate, leave the best toy, the favorite toy in the crate until she does. And then tell her what a good girl she is. Because what you want to do is you want to make it her idea. Sometimes dogs really appreciate when you make them think it was their idea to go in the crate. Because it really makes that action not a forced action, but a happy action. I know most of my dogs, when they go with their into their new homes, will seek out a crate sometimes just to get away. Just to have a break, because there's a lot of stimulation. So I know that, for me, my dogs always ride in my car in a crate, just simply because that's what I've always done. Now Junie is not riding in a car with Mr. Hamilton. And so we're having a discussion about that because he likes to take him without a crate. And he lays down in the back and he's lovely. However, I'm always a little afraid of that. Maggie hasn't been on the medication. Maybe if she hasn't been on the medication, you might want to explore what's holding you back so that you can feel comfortable about giving her the medication. And was she better over the holidays, or was she still troubling over the holidays?
It's funny because she was pretty good. And then today we had someone at our home doing some work, and oh my goodness, we had pandemonium. She was just incredible with her barking. And I really wish that we had the medication today, but,
You didn't have it to give it to her.
I didn't get it yet. And I don't know why.
No, I know. It's a hard choice. I'm actually working with a woman who's a dear friend of mine, and she's been here on the MAAP call, Kathy, and her dogs steal off the counters. While she's standing there eating her sandwich, they will jump up on the counter and steal the sandwich, which my dogs usually will wait till your back's turned at least so that they have the modicum of respect for the fact that you are eating your sandwich. I know Roxy almost ate half of a coconut cake, but thankfully it fell behind the counter so that she couldn't get it. It was on the counter, then it fell behind the counter, and so then she couldn't get it. But she really is working on these, and she's going to get those scat mats, which are mats that give the dog a little bit of a vibration when they jump on the counter to stop them from jumping on the counter. And incessant barking is really troubling, both for the family who lives with the dog and the worker who's trying to do work while they're there. Did you have the opportunity to put her in another room, or to put her in the car? Or, well, it's probably cold because you're in Virginia. It's cold in Virginia.
We got 8 inches of snow on Monday, and so we're just digging out right now. I guess you heard about the debacle on I-95 where people were stuck for,
I know exactly where they're stuck because we have been stuck in traffic there forever and 7 days. And I was really glad because my sister had decided to drive back on New Year's Eve and got to Virginia and then finished the drive on New Year's Day. So she was just a little bit ahead of the snow.
Oh, lucky her.
She arrived safely. But and she had her dog with her. And I said, you're driving so far. Do you have this is one of the D's, right? You're driving. Do you have a place where if something goes wrong, you can find a veterinarian? She goes, no, nothing's going to go wrong. And I said, okay, fine. It's interesting because, as all of you know, I've moved and I'm looking for a veterinarian, and I've interviewed 3. We'll call the first one the breeder vet, because he breeds dogs. And then we'll call the second one the chicken vet because she has a advanced degree in chicken borne diseases, like swine, like avian flu or whatever. So she's really incredible. And then the third one is we'll call the uber vet, because she's from a big university, a big vet university. And so Junie got to see 3 vets in 5 days because I wanted to meet them, because they wouldn't meet me unless I had a dog. So you can imagine the expense I went to see all these vets so that I could meet them, so I could know what they, this is the thing that we work with here at the MAAP program, is helping you figure out how to move and find a new vet, how to travel with your dog, because it really is a challenge that you have to consider, because you have to know where the emergency vets are if you're on the road and your dog gets sick or eats something or steps on glass while you're walking at the rest area. It's just something you really need to take into consideration. So we went to the vet, and the chicken vet is really interesting. She has a practice from 2 p.m. until 11 p.m., which of course is usually when every animal hurts itself, is in the middle of the night or something like that. So I said, well, that's really a pretty interesting concept. And then the Uber vet had, I kid you not, 5 different vet technician kind of people taking my name, taking his weight, talking to me about certain things. There were like 3 people who came in before the vet. I really had to ask, are you the vet? Are you the vet? Are you the vet? And she was very thorough and lovely. But the reason I'm telling you the story is that Junie had really bad teeth. And that was 1-800 he has a bad mother, because his mother, sent him away when we moved from Armonk, and then sent him away again. And then COVID hit. So it's hard to get a vet appointment for dentals. As everyone knows, it's hard to get a vet appointment for anything. But it was hard for me to get a dental vet appointment. And I've never had a dog with bad teeth. So bad on me that I didn't be more insistent. So when they finally did go in on Thursday, well, we went to the doctor on Wednesday, and they said they didn't have anything until February. So I know some of you know that I'm very big into the angels, and the angels are going to figure this out. So I go in on Wednesday for the checkup with the Uber vet, whose place says we don't have anything until the middle of February. I said, okay, fine. I should be able to drive by the middle of February and we'll be good. So of course they called me the next day. They had a cancellation, because I did ask them, put me on the cancellation list. If somebody calls and cancels, I'll slide right in. Sure enough, next day, we have a cancellation on Thursday. Would you be able to come? I said, absolutely. So Junie went, and he had a lot of, tartar and things, and 2 of his little teeth in the front were loose. And she called me to say, do you want me to pull them out? And I said, yes, no. We are not pulling them out. We are leaving them. We're just going to, see if the gum will hold them in, which it has, knock on wood. But the thing that was interesting was we had this conversation, she and I, on Monday, because I called on Friday, New Year's Eve, and said, can I talk to the vet? I have a few questions. And I left a message. Actually, I called Thursday night because I had a few questions, and they were closed Friday. And so they didn't call me till Monday. And when they called, I said, well, I'm a little disappointed. I'm a new client. I left a message. Nobody called me. And they said, well, we were closed. And I said, yes, but I left a message. Doesn't anybody check the messages and at least, call or text or whatever and say, sorry, we're closed, call so-and-so? Well, that was on the message machine. You should have called back and listened. I'm like, okay. So I'm telling you this story, I'm not using the vet's names or anything, because this is why I do what I do. I talk to people on the MAAP plan on how to talk to their vets, and I talk to the vets on how to talk to their clients. So the Uber vet kept telling me, well, you should have called. You should have found out what to do. You should have known. And I said, I get it. I should have. I said, I don't check websites for vets. I haven't done that because my vet didn't have a website, so I'm not patterned to that. I said, so I now know what to do. I said, but would it have been difficult for you when I was leaving with him on Wednesday, when he had his surgery? Would it have been difficult for you to say, by the way, we're closed Friday? And she goes, well, we did on our website, and we did on, I said, well, I checked my papers and it didn't say anything about that. And she said, well, I guess it would have been good. And I said, thank you. I appreciate that. I said, because, as a new client, it really is important to establish a relationship, and I'm not trying to be difficult. I said, however, when you're having dental surgery, if you don't know that it's serious for a dog to have dental surgery, both from an anesthesia point of view and an infection point of view, you should know. And the vet should make sure they know what to do in the next 5 days, especially if you're taking time off. I say this for everyone who's listening, because now I'm going to ask more questions. You know, we sit here on Wednesdays, and we're going to sit here on Wednesdays for the whole year of 2022 and talk about how we can be more proactive for our pets, plan more proactively for our pets so that they stay safe, so that we know what we have to do. And so I'm pointing out that I am not perfect, but everyone who's been here every week knows that, because I say it all the time. But you really learn every single day when you have an interaction with someone how to better communicate about your pet and how to better help them communicate with you about your pet, be it your groomer, be it your veterinarian, be it your dog walker. I mean, I'm going to need a dog walker probably for at least a week or so once I get Junie back. And I'm interviewing dog walkers. These are all the things that you need to do. And before I forget, Karen had a great question on my video, which I answered below the video on Facebook. But she said, listen, I have my trainer and my groomer as the people who are going to take care of my pet if something happens to me. And is this enough? And I said to her, well, congratulations. That's great. You've talked to people. It's always great. Is it in your will? Is it outside your will? Does your trainer know your groomer and your groomer know your trainer? Right? Because we want redundancy. We want everybody to know that if Sally can't pick up the dog, Sally knows she can call Susan to pick up the dogs, because they know that they're the two people who are taking care of Deborah's dogs. These are all links in the chain that keeps your pet safe. And if there's nothing else I'm going to do this year, I'm going to gently, and I appreciate all of you, because you guys have been here all of 2021 and listened to me rant and rave about this, but I'm going to do it even more, and I'm going to make it so that hopefully more people will join us, more people will make a plan, although we like this little group here that we keep in touch with and really help keep their pets together and keep their pets safe. I'd like us to all branch out, because it is so important. I have learned in the past 6 months for sure that I am blessed with friends who've taken care of my pets while I'm in transition, and also the things that I have to redo now because I've moved. So as Kieran tells people in the book, when your child asks for a pet, let one-eyed Leo lead the conversation. He talks about getting a dog or a cat initially, what you need to know initially about being a responsible owner. Once you get that pet, that's why we're here, because we're going to help you be that responsible owner. And no, is it good to give medication to help the dog calm down? Is it good to use a bark collar? Is it good to use a crate? Is it good to find different emergency clinics if you're traveling from New York to Florida on a holiday? Should you really find where the vets are off 95? Is that something you should check out? We all believe that that is something you should check out. My guardian angels work really, really well. However, sometimes they're busy and, for lack of a better word, shit happens. So if you have the ability to at least know where to look and how to look and what you're looking for, what you're asking for, is why we're here every Wednesday night, making sure that people make their MAAP plan, which means make a plan, appoint caregivers, address the needs of all your pets, and then publish it. Because that was the other piece that I spoke to Karen about. You know, if it's not published, if her two friends who are her trainer and her groomer don't know about each other, that plan is not as effective as it could be, because they have to work together. I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight. This half hour goes so quickly. Before we close, I do want to ask all of you one important question. What are you going to do to make sure your pet is safer in 2022? I'm going to start with you, Susan. What are you going to do to make sure that Maggie is safer in 2022?
That's a good question, because I do have a lot happening in my life right now. And you kind of put me on the spot there, but I think getting the behavior under control, because then that's going to open up so many possibilities and options for her. Yeah, I have to think about that quite a
One
bit. But
behavior at a time. So when you're thinking about doing all of her behavior issues, pick the one that is the most important to you and work on that one. Because if you're working on 3 or 4, it gets to be overwhelming. So maybe be the one that goes into a crate. This might be the safest thing because that keeps her safe. And then maybe put a blanket over her crate. So maybe she'd stop barking. So then you'll work on the barking piece. Because that just one at a time. I'm in the process of reading Atomic Habits by John Chase. Fabulous book. But what he does is he doesn't tell you to go and walk 100,000 steps for the year or 10,000 steps a day. He says, go out and walk around the block, go out, walk out of your house, down your driveway and back again. He said that starts the habit. So if you start the habit of feeding her in her crate or throwing her favorite toy in her crate, so that creates that little bit of a habit, or twice a day, that'd be great. It's not something to bite off too much that you can't chew it. You have to do one thing at a time.
Right. I hear you.
Because it gets overwhelming and then you don't do anything and Maggie stays stagnant. So pick one thing that you can probably do for 1.5 minutes every single day, maybe twice a day, but that you could do and then that'll work.
Yeah, I've got to get that going. So that's my top priority. But
good. That's a good one. And let us know how you're doing with it.
I will.
Susan,
go ahead, Kieran.
Susan, could I ask, is it a fixed crate or is it the one that you sort of assembled, the wire and the metal type of crate?
Yeah, it's a really nice crate. It's one that the breeder recommended for her, and it's got a nice comfortable pad in it. And the only time we've used it really is we've made a little safe spot for her. It's kind of her, Kathy recommended it. So her crate is there and her bowl is kind of outside of the crate. It's not in the crate. But the only time she really uses or goes into it is when we are leaving the house. And she does kind of go there to eat, but other than that, not really.
Okay, no, I'm trying to work out. Is it one that you can dismantle, or is it actually a fixed piece of?
I think you can dismantle it, yes, because we put it together to, set it up. I think I ordered it from Amazon.
Right. There's a lovely little trick, and there's if you get a chance to look at a documentary on YouTube about Alfred Hitchcock's movie The Birds.
Oh.
Now, these two are actually related because for the months before they made the movie, and there's one scene in the movie where the birds attack a house. What they basically did was they brought the food to the place twice a day, and the birds would assemble, and then they'd slowly build the house around where the food was. So if you use the same psychology with the dog, so in other words, don't put the pressure on to go into that confined space, but start with one wall and leave the food beside it, then a second wall, a few more days, and then slowly there's a crate being built around the food.
Oh, that's a clever idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So it's basically you remove all the possible conscious or subconscious objections that the dog might have. And then every time a wall goes up, side of a crate goes up, double the happy rations. So the dog is saying, please put up the other walls and the roof.
Yeah, because I'm going to get better treats. Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. You have to try it. I don't think it would be that hard to do. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, thank you, Kieran. What are you doing for 2022? I know you don't have a pet currently, but what are you doing? I mean, I guess Leo could be your pet.
Well, that entire project is the pet. Unlike getting it into a crate, I hope it just goes off and finds its way around the world soon.
That's right. No crating of Leo.
No creating. I think it'll be very interesting in about 12 months to have this conversation again because
I intend to.
yeah, but you see the way I'd look at the whole Leo project is there are sort of typically 6 parts to a business. So you start with the idea, then the minimal viable product, the first sales, repeated sales. Then you go into sort of offshoots of the original project and then global scaling. So on the 6 steps, we're at about 10% into the third one, which is the sales are beginning to just turn up by themselves now, inch by inch.
Wow.
So we're at the point now where we're not trying to sell it, but we're really trying to build the partnerships and get the investment. And
Perfect. Well, we'll have to talk more about that offline because I want to be part of that. Maria,
Yeah.
welcome. I'm going to go to Sally in a minute, but Maria, we're about wrapping up. However, I'd love to hear if you have a question about the MAP plan, which involves making a plan for the care of your pet, navigating the journey they take if something happens to you long-term or short-term, appointing caregivers. We talk about it every week on how to find those caregivers, addressing the needs of your pet. So talking about what makes your pet tick and how you can let other people know about how your pet ticks. And of course, publishing whatever plan you make with the people who are your caregivers, plus your attorney, plus your family, plus your veterinarian, because everyone needs to know what you want to have done with your pets. So love to know where you're from if you want to tell us. I'm so sorry. We usually stick around for about 35 minutes. And it started at 6:30, which was a half hour ago Eastern time. So I don't want to hold everybody else. I'm happy to stay for a few minutes at the end to introduce myself, but I want to make sure that I go to Sally and finish up the question that you're more than welcome to answer. What would you like to do for your pets in 2022, Sally?
Well, I think the easiest thing I've learned is when I open the door, make sure they're on a short lead. So if there is a squirrel or something interesting on the far side of the yard, they don't take off. So I just have to make sure their lead is on and that it's short, not long. So that's step one. Get out the door safely.
Yep. And not have them knock you down.
Yeah, and also not have them take off.
Yeah. Although because they're sort of older, they definitely aren't going to go anywhere. I don't think they because I know these girls. They don't go anywhere. At least I don't think they do.
They'll come back.
Yes, they will come back. Yep. So Maria's from New York, and she's new to all of this. No worries about being late, Maria. We have people coming in and out all the time. But what we'd love for you to do is either stick around or come back next week. So the plan, you can get a lot of information on my website. This call lasts for a half hour. We answer everybody's questions. So next week, if you can come, that would be great. Or if you want to type in the chat, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Do you have a cat? Do you have a dog? Do you have a bird? Do you have a horse? New York City, unlikely to have a horse, but never know. There's Central Park Stables, so you never know. There's also the Van Cortlandt Park Stables. I'm from New York. I'm now in North Carolina, so absolutely. And we talk about how to make a written plan. We talk about the 8 Ds that you have to worry about with your pets, and only one of them is death. The other is divorce, delay, disability, disease, dementia, and disaster. There's all sorts of things that you have to plan for. At the beginning of the call, which you missed, Sally was talking about how friends of hers were caught in that awful fire in Colorado. They did get their cats and dogs out, but they were unable to get their horses to a safer place, so they lost their horses. And these are the kind of things we talk about every single Wednesday. What can you do? Nothing's foolproof. I mean, but at least you can do what you can. You can put together a plan. You can share that plan with others so that if something happens to you and someone has to implement it, they know what you want to do. I know that Susan's working on that. And with all new arrivals, I say the one thing I want you to do tonight before you do anything else is put a 3x5 card somewhere very easy to see on your refrigerator, somewhere in your apartment or your house where you live with your pet that says, do not take my dogs to animal care and control. If an emergency occurs, and I am not able to get home or I'm not able, to take care of my dogs, please call. Oh, a senior dog. I love senior dogs. So you definitely don't want them to go to animal care and control because they could pick up something. So what you want to do is have a go-to person. So it might be a neighbor who can just stand up and say, listen, I know who Maria wants the dog to go to, leave the dog in the apartment or in the house. Especially during COVID, we talked all last year about COVID and being able to have someone there if something happened to you to know what the next steps would be for your pet. I might not be able to take care of your pet, but I can at least let them out in your backyard, or, maybe they have, wee-wee pads, or maybe, we could find someone to walk them. But I know that there's someone that Maria knows that could get there. During COVID, all of my caregivers were out of the state of New York, and that was really bad since the governor shut the state of New York. So no one could come and help me if I got sick. So we had to make alternate plans to the MAAP plan, which meant I had to have cards made that said, if something happens to you, I'm happy to take care of your dog in your home. And then those people came to me and said, ditto, I'll do that for you too. So at least you had that emergency care. So I hope you come back. With a senior dog, it's so important because they have, absolutely, you have limited resources. Let me see. Let me read what he said. So I'm a chaplain that has many patients who are facing the same dilemma and who have very limited resources or persons willing to take on their pet. Oh my God. Maria, please email me. Rose, could you put my email up in the chat? Please email me, because I talk to many groups that have older people who are their caregivers. They're the caregivers for the older people, and taking the pets away from the older people is really difficult. However, if we could work with fosters before they're taken away, it works really well. There was a great article that Joy Gerlach put up, where a nurse actually went to a shelter and adopted a gentleman's dog from the shelter when he said he had to leave the dog at the shelter because he got sick and nobody would take his dog. She went and got it. Now, you can't guarantee that every one of the emergency room or elder care nurses are going to go to the shelter and adopt your dog. But if we could build a network, which, Karen, this is right up your alley, right? If we could build a network that would assist people in rescue and in foster care, because so many people foster dogs, there could be the senior foster dogs. So if someone's a senior who wants to keep their dogs, there would be a group of people who would help them do that. So Maria, I look forward to continuing this conversation. I work with everyone in that field. I gave a talk to a group of elder care planners up in New England about a year or two ago. Well, no, now because of COVID, it was 3 years ago. While I was out in California, I was giving them a talk on how to make a plan with the family and with the older person on how to care for their pets, because quite frankly, if they're transitioning out of their homes or they get sick and they lose their pets, that can have a really traumatic effect on their ability to recover. So now we're 16 minutes over and I love it. I could, guys, I could talk forever, right? So I'll stop now. This is Deborah Voivoda Hamilton and Hamilton Law and Mediation and the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. Maria, I'd love to have you on the podcast to talk about, as a chaplain, what kind of things are important for the care of pets. God bless you. Sally, you sneezed on it. God bless you.
Thank you.
My mother always said it's true if you sneeze on it. Love to have you, because this is such an important discussion to have. Our elders love their dogs. And wouldn't it be great if we could match up the elder pets that are hard to adopt with the elder people who want to have another dog, have limited funding, and figure out a way? I mean, wouldn't it be great to have Subaru, who's a huge, or Bissell, huge supporters of animal rescue, animal welfare, to set up that kind of a partnership. But that's for another night. I love you all. Have a wonderful week. I will see you all back here next Wednesday at 6:30. And until then, kiss all your pets for me. Take care now.